Have you ever wondered exactly what top producers say during their listing presentations? Like, want it to be a fly on the wall so you could hear the exact words they use when they're talking about marketing or the home's value or commission. And have you ever wondered how they seem to always get the listing agreement signed right there on the spot? Well, your wish is my command because we've got Jason Boice in the house out of Hebron, Connecticut. Year one, out the gate, he closed 32 transactions. Year two, he closed 41 and 345,000 in GCI. And he just entered year three. And he's also a member of the Five Pillars Nation community at EXP, which is my lovely community. So I may be a little bit biased, but the dude is a beast. And I am stoked to have Jason here to share his exact listing presentation step by step. So expect to learn what to bring with you to the listing appointment, what to say about marketing so you don't sound like every other agent out there, the best way to tackle pricing the home, and of course, how to address commission. And we end the show with getting that listing agreement signed on the spot. Guys, you're listening to the Real Estate Rockstars podcast, the show for agents who've been around the block and are finally ready to build sustainable, scalable businesses. My name is Shelby Johnson, and quick surprise in case you haven't heard, after a year of hosting this beautiful podcast, I've decided to hand back the reins so I can fully focus on building my agent business from the ground up in a brand new city, Lexington, Kentucky. So this month is my last month hosting, August 2024. And if you want to follow the journey from ground zero, head over to Instagram at The Shelby Show. But for today, Rockstars welcome Jason Boice. Okay, Jason, I'm a seller and you showed up at my house for a listing appointment. And today we're going to deep dive into the listing presentation itself. But can you just zoom out a little bit? Like, you just showed up at my house. What happens up until we get to the presentation point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll walk into the house, quick niceties. And then I ask for a tour right away because I want to see the property. Like, I've done my research. I know the range of where this house should fall in. And now I want to walk through the house to get a good feeling. As we walk through the house, I'm going to make small talk. And during small talk, I'm trying to really judge where on the disc profile they are. So as I make the presentation, I can kind of tailor it more towards what their disc profile is. So like if it's a high C and they're like super detail oriented, I'm going to hit that person with more stats. If it's a high D and they're like very straight and to the point, I'm going to kind of sidestep a lot of that and just be more straight and to the point.
Yeah, I love that. And guys listening, if you are like, I don't know anything about the disc profile, you can hit me up. I have like a cheat sheet disc breakdown that Jason actually printed and like has on his desktop. So it's super helpful. Yeah, are you going to show? And guys, if you're not watching today on YouTube, you don't have to be for this by any means, but it would be helpful because Jason is sharing his listing presentation and going through like the actual deck. Again, not necessary, but helpful. Okay, so you did the tour, you're trying to build rapport and you are assessing them for the disc profile for their personality assessment. So that way you can gear the appointment to like the presentation itself to their needs. So so the tour's done. Are you like, can I sit down or what? Lead us through.
Yeah. So once we finish the tour, I'll go like, all right, guys, cool. This was super helpful. Is there a good spot in your house where we can sit down and go through all the information? Usually I want to sit like kitchen table or dining room table, right? Someplace where we can sit down and everyone's comfortable. We can go through stuff and I can lay it all out. In this listing presentation, I actually they're on laminated full-size pages. And as I go over each one, I'm dropping it on the table in front of them. That way the info's there and it just makes a little bit more impact and it's visual.
What else do you have with you? So you have the laminated presentation for them, but I think you have your own checklist and stuff to keep you on track. What is that?
Yeah. So I'll bring a EXP folder with me. And I have these like pre-stacked, right? I have this EXP folder. In it is my entire checklist. It has my checklist of like, hey, in advance of the appointment, these are all the documents I sent them, just info about me. If they go sign the listing agreement, what the schedule is going to be like. It has a seller questionnaire. And once we sit down, I generally go through this whole questionnaire to really kind of dig deep into what their motivations are, that type of stuff. And then if they sign the listing agreement, it's also an entire checklist that matches our MLS. So it's super easy once I don't do it, but once my listing coordinator inputs all this stuff, it's literally step by step, the same format that it goes into the MLS. So it's like there's no confusion and it's super easy.
Okay, so the takeaway for that is not only are you having the presentation, you also have your own checklist. So that way you know like exactly which questions to ask, the order in which to ask them, and then hypothetically, if they sign the listing agreement, the checklist on what to do while you are still at the property to capitalize, or, of course, I know that you sometimes schedule an appointment to come back if need be. But the intent is to capitalize on this time with them. You just have them face to face, and it's a lot easier to get everything done up front if you have your shit together instead of going back and being like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? So, okay. Got it.
And it minimizes trips, right? So like I never want to make more than 2 trips for a listing. The other thing I have is if they sign the listing agreement, this is a prep list and it's a room by room prep list. What I'll do is I'll take notes and I keep this for me. And then they get at the end, if they sign with me, they get like a super detailed room by room email with a checklist of all the prep work that they agreed to and the time frame that they agreed it's going to get done by. Now, sometimes they agree to it and that doesn't happen and we adjust as time goes on, but that goes out in like a checklist bulleted email to them after the fact as a follow-up.
Okay. At this point, we understand what you've brought with you, what you have for you, what you have for the client. You are hypothetically sitting down at the dining room table with them. Now what?
So we've gone through all that. So I'll pull out this slide deck and I'll start going through it. So I'll lay the first one on the page or on the table and I'll go, Shelby, first off, to kick us off, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to interview for the job of helping you sell your home. Because after all, my job as a real estate agent is to bring as many qualified buyers, make them aware of your home, bring them through your home, and get them to make a commitment to buy your home. So thank you for that opportunity. I don't work alone. I work as part of a small team, right? As Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much more. So I'm the face of it. I'm the person you're going to interact with. You're going to see all the time. But I have a couple back office members that handle a lot of the behind the scenes document stuff, and they are all a part of the team. And you'll meet them as we go through a lot of the transaction stuff once we get you under contract. First, I want to say I work for eXp Realty, but one thing I always tell people, and when they're choosing an agent to represent them to help them sell their home, choose the agent who you want and not the brokerage. Because at the end of the day, whether it's Mr. eXp or Mr. Coldwell Banker or Mr. Keller Williams, that brokerage isn't going to be the one negotiating on your behalf. They're not going to be the one directly communicating with you. They're not going to be the one in your marketing video. They're not going to be the one picking all the perfect photos for your house to best represent it online. And Shelby, at the end of the day, if you are looking to buy a house, are you going to tell your agent, only show me houses listed by Coldwell Banker? Or are you going to look at exactly? So, right, whether you choose me or someone else, make a decision based on who you think is going to best represent you and market your property to get you the most amount of offers, not whether or not they work for a certain brokerage. Fair?
Fair.
Cool. So I want to go over briefly, whether you're just interviewing me or other agents, what does every agent do? Right? They're going to help you through the listing documents. They're going to do a sign, a lockbox, put your property in the MLS. They're going to field phone calls. This is a general list of what every agent is going to do, but they're all going to do that. Obviously, some will do it better than others, but I don't want to waste your time today and go over the same things that everyone's going to do. What I want to do is talk to you a little bit about what we do above and beyond this here list here that all those other agents are going to do. Does that sound good? Cool. So for us, it all starts with professional photography. it blows my mind that in our MLS, you can actually see who the photographer is. So it blows my mind that over half of all listings uploaded by agents are done with a cell phone. Now the cameras nowadays are good, but it's not the same as a professional. So we hire a real estate professional. That's all he does. He owns a marketing company that specializes in real estate. And the reason that's important is you're going to get the best lighting, the best angles, right? And when we come to take pictures of your house, we're going to take about 250 pictures, and we're going to take every room with different lighting because let's face it, every room has different lighting, and it's going to take different lighting to really showcase that room in the best light possible. So that's where it all starts. And at the end of the day, Shelby, I'm sure you've probably looked at houses online. Now, people don't buy a house just because it looks great online, but if the pictures are terrible, there are people that will not go see a house because it looks terrible online, right? So the first showing starts online, and that's the first showing to get them in the door. Now, a lot of times when I say that, people will be like, oh, yeah, I've seen terrible pictures, and right? People a lot of times engage in that comment. So now we also do professional video, and less than 10% of agents actually do this type of narrated video, and I'm going to show you an example. And I don't know if you want to get into this. Usually it's like a 2 to 3 minute marketing video, but then I'll pull up in my database of marketing videos and show them one that's similar to their home, right?
Yeah, I don't think for this, we're not actually going to pull it up and show. But guys, you can imagine it's like a horizontal, very professional, like kind of, I don't know, HGTV style video where Jason goes around, he stands outside the house, he has a full script ahead of time and literally narrates the property. So especially for a homeowner who's not used to living in this world of digital marketing, it looks very impressive.
And it is. And I can't tell you the amount of times that seals the deal. They're like, oh my God, I've never seen anyone do this before. Like, that marketing video is great. So 10 out of 10 recommend.
Real quick, just because I know people are thinking this, they're like, oh no, that's money. You've already talked about professional videos or photos, which I know you pay for. So can you talk so far, just as a little pause in this, about the pictures and the video cost?
Yeah, it's going to vary based on the size of the house, but generally it's anywhere from like $800 to $1,000. Sorry, that's for full package. Yeah, that's for the full package.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, for both. That's combined. Okay, gotcha. That's not bad. Okay.
So we'll go through that. Then I'll go. We also do, as part of our listing package, drone pictures and video. Now, you saw in the video we just saw, right, the drone footage that was part of that, but we also include pictures. In fact, a recent study by NAR showed that listings with aerial imagery is 68% more likely to sell than those without. And the feedback from that same survey is that buyers got a much better feel for the land and what's around it. We also include floor plans. Now, our floor plans are labeled, so every room is labeled with dimensions. So it gives people a good feel for not only the flow, but whether or not certain furniture or bed or certain things can fit in certain rooms. And that same study from NAR, feedback from buyers, is that 67% of home buyers ranked floor plans as very useful when searching for homes online. So we provide them. Almost every time when I go through that, people are like, yeah, I love when they have the floor plans online. So
I'm not being very interactive for you. That's what you're saying. I'm just like crickets.
I'm just saying, people tend to, yeah.
And real quick, that when you said $800 to $1,000, that includes the photos, the videos, the drone, and the floor plans, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Continue.
Yeah, I think the most I've paid so far for like a large, newer built, like 3,000 square foot colonial was about $1,200. So usually $800 to $1,200 depending on size. So then I'll go, and every single one of our listings also gets an exclusive property website. So like a 123mainstreet.com. And normally when I showed them the video, that was the beginning of the website. And so I already have the website up and I'll go, remember that video we just saw? And I'll scroll through the website and they can see all the listing details, the write-up, the pictures, the disclosures are in there, maps of the area are in there. So I'll go through that website so they can see it. And then I'll tell them like, and the cool thing about that website is it's easily shareable. And in today's digital world, once you have access to that website, if you have a friend or family member looking to move into the area, how easy is it to just share that website with them? And now I have all your listing info.
What site are you using for the website and how much does it cost?
I used to use Crib Flyer. I now have my own website and I have add-on pages. So I just do an add-on page for every listing onto my website, and which is cool because now I'm just driving more traffic to my website. Then I'll go into, now on top of that video that we saw that you loved, we do a social media marketing campaign around that video on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And then if people want, they can share that video. So imagine you see that video online and you go, hey, my cousin Johnny's looking for a place in Glastonbury. And they can just easily share that with their cousin Johnny. So again, we're doing that job of trying to make the most amount of people aware of your property as possible. We also send a postcard to everyone in the surrounding neighborhood, but it's not just any postcard. See this QR code here? If you scan that QR code, it takes you to that single property website with the video tour and all the information, again, making it easily shareable. Now, I know postcards are old-fashioned, but believe it or not, about 10% of people who buy a home buy it because they know someone already living in that area. So if your friend Billy is looking for a house in your neighborhood and you get that postcard and you go, oh, Billy's looking for a house here, and you can just share that website with them because you scan the QR code, again, making it easily shareable to people that want to move into the neighborhood.
Lots of traffic coming to your website. For the postcards, what service are you doing them through? Is it like you drop a pin on the address and there's a certain radius and it like automatically goes out? Or like, what's your process for this?
Yeah. So for here in Connecticut, we use a GIS system. So I can just go on the GIS system and do a radius, and I generally try to send it. I do a radius around the property that we're listing, try to get anywhere from 250 to 300 houses, right? So I just kind of play with that radius until I get somewhere in that number.
And then, so that's the radius with the addresses. Is that correct? And then you export and you import somewhere else to send, or what?
Yep. So I have a virtual assistant that does it all for me, but we do it through Vistaprint. So she does the design through Vistaprint. She sets up the QR code. She actually does the radius. It's all kind of behind the scenes done for me. And then I give it a once over, approve it. I always double check the QR code to make sure it works. And then once I give her the okay, she orders it.
And cost for those postcards?
That's a good question. Usually they're like $1 a piece. I think they're less than that, 75 cents a piece, something like that.
Okay, gotcha. So at most $300 for that to go out. Okay, because I'm keeping track of costs too. Cool.
All right. So next slide, I go. Now, I'm a little bit old-fashioned, but I also work as an agent for you. Now, what does that mean? Well, I like to use the analogy of a sports agent, right? If your sports agent doesn't just sit around waiting for Subway or Nike or any of those companies to call, right? They go out and they hit the phones and they find them. So I actually go out and I'll contact the highest performing buyer's agents in the area where you live and give them a heads up that your listing's coming live. And that does a couple things. A, it makes that agent look really good. So we develop good rapport because they can then call their clients and say, hey, I got the inside scoop on this house that's going to be coming on the market next week. Now, they're not getting in any sooner, but we're increasing that demand of people getting excited about your house coming to the market. If you're okay with it, because some people aren't, we love to do an open house. Now, we advertise that open house on social media, on all the online websites through the MLS, etc. And we've gotten huge turnouts to our open houses, especially in this competitive market. And believe it or not, about 10% of the properties we've sold at the open house. So if you're cool with it, I'd love to do an open house on your property. And to answer your question, yes, sometimes nosy neighbors come in. Now, I will be there and I'll be screening everyone that comes in just to make sure, there's nothing inappropriate going on, right? And sometimes nosy neighbors coming in isn't a bad thing because if they love the place and they have a friend or family member looking to move in, sometimes hey, cousin Vinny, hey, this house just got listed. It's beautiful. I know you've been thinking about moving out here. You should come see it. And sometimes that does happen. Now, getting your home ready to list. At the end of this, should you decide to sign with us, we're actually going to go through a room by room, step by step checklist of all the things to do to not blow your budget, right? We like to keep it low. But all the things to do to get your house ready to sell so that we can market it and get you the most amount of money possible.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason, because I had no idea what to do in every single room. You're the best.
You're welcome.
That's what they say every time, right? No, but for real, that is legit though. It's so helpful.
It is. And we do get feedback that like people do love the checklist because they can literally print it out and go room by room. We also work with a professional stager should that be something you want to do. So research has found that typically a staged home sells for about 17% higher than a non-staged home, and it sells a lot faster. So if you're open to staging, now staging on a house about this size is going to be around $3,000, and that is paid by the seller. Unfortunately, we don't cover that expense. But if that's something you're interested in, we do full coordination with our stager, again, getting your house marketable and ready to sell for the most amount of money possible.
I have a question. Do you ever strongly recommend? Because in this case, you said, should that be something that you want? Do you ever come in and you're like, I highly recommend this? That was part one. Part two is, do you have light staging versus full staging? Just, a couple little plants, little wreath action going. What you got?
A lot of times it depends. If the house is vacant and it's a nice looking house, not like a rehab property, I usually recommend staging. Vacant houses just don't show great. But if the family's living there, it's really hard to stage when you have like 2 adults and 3 kids living in the house. So usually what we'll do in that scenario is we'll do one of 2 things. The stager that we use will actually, for a small fee, do a walkthrough consultation of how to stage your house with your own furniture. So we'll either go that route or we'll just kind of do it with them as part of our, room by room checklist.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, vacant houses, especially like nicer vacant houses, totally recommend staging. Now, let's talk about schedule. I know, Shelby, you told me you want to be on the market by the end of September, right? So what I like to do is work the way backwards to find out when we need to have certain things done by. So we do what's called a coming soon period. Are you familiar with coming soon, Shelby?
I am. But
Okay,
still explain
awesome.
it to me if you want, whatever would be more helpful.
Yeah. So coming soon it makes everyone can see your listing, but they can't actually get in the house to see it. And the cool thing that does is it compresses our days on market because people have a whole week where they can set up showings once it goes live so that the first day that it does go live, oftentimes we have 10, 15, 20 showings lined up. Otherwise, if I just make a property live, maybe a few people see it and schedule a showing one day and then another day and then another day. So by doing that 1 week coming soon where people get to see it for a whole week and set up showings, a lot of times we compress our days on market to, believe it or not, our average listing right now is going under contract in 4 days on market. So does that make sense? Cool. So, and then from there, we need at least a week to do all that prep work. Remember, we talked about the pictures, the video, all the drone footage, all the marketing that we do, the postcards, the online advertising. It takes time to do all that stuff. So we need a week before then. So now we're 2 weeks back from when you said you want to be live. And then we're going to go through our checklist, and then we're going to see how much time you think it's going to take for you to complete that checklist to say like, hey, we need to start on this date. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. But real quick on the checklist, because I know that we've talked about how it's like a room by room, what needs to be done. But for clarifying purposes, that is like paint. That's like, a light fixture. What is normally on this list?
Yeah. Normally, if the house is in good condition, it is cleaning, minor staging, like setting up, certain things in certain rooms. But a lot of it is just cleaning and, where we're placing things, keeping things neat, clean, organized. If there's things that have damage, it could be minor paint, minor repair, that type of stuff. But it's property specific. But that's the most common thing, like a house that's already in good condition. A lot of it is just room by room cleaning checklists.
Okay, perfect. I accept.
Thank you. Any questions to this point on our marketing plan and what we do to help you get ready to list to sell your house for the most amount of money?
No, I just want to talk about money, Jason. I'm a seller. Hit me with whatever. I know that's what's coming next, huh?
Yeah. Well, you read my mind, because the next part is we're going to talk about what's the value of my home, right? And we figure this out by looking at comparable sales, right? Every home is unique, but a comparable sale gives us an idea. And then we kind of have to shift based on how that home might be different than ours to make it more similar to ours. Does that make sense? So a couple things to keep in mind as we look through comps, right? The best chance to sell your house for the most amount of money is right after it gets listed. Believe it or not, after 14 days on market, the amount of views on your property dramatically decreases. So we really want to sell your house in the first 14 days on market. And so in order to do that, we really got to make sure we price it right, rather than pricing it too high and then having the price cut. So with that being said, so at this point, what I usually do is I've already done my research on comps. I actually pull up on my computer the comps, and I go through them one by one. So I'll go like, okay, Shelby, your house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot colonial built in 2005, right? Let's look at this house. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square foot colonial built in 2007. So similar time frame, a little bit smaller. And I'll tell them those things because I want them to realize that. Like, they might not put two and two together. So I'll tell them, hey, this one's a little bit smaller. This one has an extra garage bay, right? The things that they should know. Because when they're looking at that price, I want them to think like, oh, that house has more stuff than mine. So I'm probably going to have to be priced a little lower than that, or vice versa. In order to get them on board, because this is the biggest argument everyone runs into, I like to get them to tell me the price, right? So I'll run through all the comps, and at the end of each one, I'll go, now, where do you think your house rates in comparison to this one after we've gone through the pictures? Like, I like them to start thinking that way. And then we'll go through all of them, and I'll go, okay, now we went through those 4 comps that are all pretty similar to your house. Now, based on looking at those and as we made those comparisons as we go along, where do you think your house should fall in that price range? And after doing it like that, they usually get a pretty good idea. Like, I recently had a seller who, when I got there, she was like, I want over $600,000. Now, I was going into this thinking we were going to price it right around like 5. So that's like $100,000 gap.
Hope.
So, and this is hilarious too. She didn't tell me till afterwards that she had just pulled a HELOC out on that property and had an appraisal for 475 like 3 months earlier.
Classic.
Right? And in her mind, she was like, I'm selling it for 6. So But after we went through all the comps, and I was like, okay, where in there do you think my house, your house should fall? She was like, like 480, 490. I was like, yeah, actually, I think your house is in a little bit better condition than that. How would you feel if we priced it at 499.9? And she was like, yes, right? Like she talked herself down $100,000. I didn't have to do it.
Dude, okay, so what about though when you picked up, you have your 4 comps, but there is a home that sold in the neighborhood that the seller drives by every day that it's not really a comp, like it's much bigger or maybe it's much nicer or whatever, but it's sold at a price point that the seller now has in their mind. And they're like, no, that house in my neighborhood sold for this. And I don't know what you're showing me. Like, can you talk us through that?
Yeah, great question. Because that happens. I'll go like, yeah, totally. Let's take a look at it. And right, I'm there. I have the MLS. I'll pull it up. And I'll go like, okay, cool. Hey, remember we went through, your house was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot colonial built in 2007. So this one down the street, this is a 5-bedroom, 3.5-bath, 3,700 square foot contemporary that was built in 2020. So it's a little newer. It's an extra, I forget what I said, 1,500 square feet. It's got a 3-car garage bay. It's got, you're on 1 acre. It's on 3 acres. So it's got more land. Let's look at the pictures, and I'll go through, I'll just educate them and go through it all. And usually they can come to that conclusion, and I'll ask like, okay, hey, after we've gone through that, like, do you think those are comparable? Usually they can answer that question.
Oh, okay. So, well, 2 questions. One is a logistic question. Because now you have your checklist, you have eliminated, you are now on your computer and you're pulling things up in the MLS, which means you have Wi-Fi access. So just like smoothness, are you like, oh, let's pause for a second, make small talk while you pull up, get on a hotspot? Or like, how does that work in your world?
Yeah. Yeah, I usually do pause for a second. And when I get to this slide, like time to review, well, so I've already pulled it out when we went over the video. And that's when I have a hotspot, right? So I'll either use the hotspot, or if I'm in a place with a terrible signal, I'll just ask them, hey, do you mind if I access your Wi-Fi so I can show you this video? No one's ever said no.
Okay, perfect answer to question 1. Patrick, question 2 is do you ever actually do a CMA where you go in there and you do like adjustments and whatever and like have like an actual CMA done or no?
Yeah, I used to. The more I do this, I don't anymore. I just go in. So I do have a printout. I do have 2 printouts that I do come, and it's not a full CMA. But it's like I'll run my criteria, and I'll print out like the 5 or 6 houses that I think are good comps. And then our MLS has like they call it quick CMA. It just gives you like the details, like list price, sold price, price per square foot, percent of list price received, that type of thing. And I'll have that data there, and I'll go over that quickly before I go into each individual property.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. I think having those numbers, because if you're just pulling up the listing and going through the pictures, like when you talk about those high C potential personalities, they're like, well, let's compare days on market and, like you said, price per square foot or, list to sale ratio or whatever. And so, okay, the quick CMA checks that block and then supplements with them. Okay. I'm with you. I'm here.
Yeah. And if it's a high C, I go into a little more detail, and I like to play with price per square foot. Where I'll go, hey, this one sold, right? This was listed at 385, sold for 425, 3 days on market. This one actually sold at price per square foot of $215 a square foot. And I'll do that as I go through each comp. Because with a high C person and we start getting to naming their price, right, we kind of will bracket a price per square foot that things are selling for. And that can be a good point to rein them in if need be also.
And if I lost anyone, this circles back to the very beginning when we were talking about the DISC assessment. That C is one of the DISC profiles. So again, if you're interested in that, let me know. I have a breakdown. Okay. I think I'm good on this. Unless you have more. Do you have more on this, on value?
No.
Okay. We nailed it.
So
high five.
Yeah. So we've reached, right. We've reached a price. So then I'll go into like, hey, Shelby, have you heard about the recent NAR lawsuit?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I heard about it. I do not have to pay anything for buyer's agents anymore. They're on their own. I can't believe that we were so ripped off for years and this industry is corrupt. And that's what I heard.
Yeah. And that is some of the stuff that's come out of it. Absolutely. So the major changes coming out of it are sellers are no longer required to pay buyer agents. They still can if they choose to, but they aren't required to. In fact, a lot of MLSs are eliminating that field because of it. There are some other things that have to do with buyers, but you're selling, so we'll just focus on that for a minute. Now, so let's talk a little bit about how the listing side, right? So there's two sides to compensation. There's the listing side and the buyer side. So on the listing side, this is how our commission program works. And I have this, right? It gets dropped on the table and they can look at it and it goes through the different listing side services, the commission that we charge for each one. And the question that I love to ask people when I put this out is, now I'll go through each one, like this one provides this, this, and this. And I'll go, hey, now out of those three, which one of these packages do you think is going to get you the highest price? Right? I don't ask them what they like or what they want. I say, what's going to get you the highest price? And I'd say a solid 75% of people go with the middle package, which is almost what I want. But right, because that's all the marketing. The only thing it doesn't include is me paying for a pre-listing inspection and a 1-year home warranty for the incoming buyer.
Yeah, it's totally the way you want it. But for those of you listening and not watching, it's a slide in his presentation, and it has every single line item of what he already went over. Like it has, all of the stuff that every agent does. It also has what he specifically does for marketing. And it has different percentages within each column. So it has all of the items. It has checks by which item is included within which package. And it has package 1, 2, and 3, which is a 2.5%, a 3%, and a 4%. And then, he did his line, which is so smart, asking the question of which one of these do you think is going to get you the highest price for your home? Not whatever I think like, oh, which one of these would you like? It's asking the question, which one do you think is going to be ultimately best for you in hitting your goals? Like that type of question, which leads them right into the funnel in which he was hoping they would jump into, which is the 3%, the one he wanted. Okay. Sorry, I just did that for the people only listening.
No, you're good. So after that, and I'll go, cool. I think that's a great decision, Shelby. We'll go with the 3%. Now, let's talk about buyer commission incentives. Now, coming out of the NAR lawsuit, you're absolutely correct. You don't have to pay buyer side commissions. I do want to show you a little study that I've done. So, right, it's been over a year since they ruled on it. Now, the NAR lawsuit based on the settlement is actually going into effect in the coming days. But the cool thing is I've had about a whole year to actually watch the data in the MLS about the type of compensation that people are offering and how that affects sales. And what we've seen so far is that about 75% of people are still offering 2.5%. And those listings are selling the fastest and selling for over list price, the highest percentage over list price. In fact, remember those comps we looked at when we determined your value? Now, I actually bring all the MLS printouts that show what is offered. And I'll go, look at this one that sold for $525, they offered 2.5%. This one that sold for $535, they offered 2.5%. This one that sold for $500, oh, they offered 2%. This one that sold for $545, they offered 2.5%. So I show them that. Now, once the MLS thing changes, I'm probably going to have to change how I go about it. But this is what I do today. And then I'll tell them like, hey, and then, so as you can see, about 75% of people are still offering 2.5%. About 15% of people are offering 2%. And we've seen those houses do still sell, and they sell competitively. They just get a little bit less interest. And then about 5% of people are offering nothing or $1. And the thing we've seen is those properties sit on the market and they don't sell. In fact, I work with buyers too. And one of my strategies to help get buyers under contract is to look for people not offering buyer agency compensation, because those houses are sitting on the market and there's no competition. And we'll actually go after those and put in our offer, getting them to pay for it. And because they have no other offers, they always agree to it. So based on those options, and if we want to go after this price when we sell your house, what are you thinking as far as where you would want to offer buyer agency compensation?
I will go with your recommendation, Jason. In your market, looks like 2.5% is the way to go. And that's just a real side note, real quick, guys. He is in Hebron. Did I say that right this time? Is it Hebron? Hebron. Yeah. Connecticut. And his market is on absolute fire. It is ridiculous. Like, homes are selling, he submitted an offer the other day, I think that was 30 grand or maybe more over list, and they still didn't get it. So it's ridiculous. And their market norm is 2.5% what's happening. But all this to say, you have to figure out what is normal in your market. Okay.
And I like showing them, right? And that kind of helps lead them to what they should do. And they can make their own decision, but as long as they're making that decision knowing what the potential outcome may be, then that's cool.
Perfect. Love it. So at this point, we've agreed on price. We've talked about commission. I've picked my 3% one. We've talked about buyer agent incentive. Now what?
Cool. So we've gone through all that stuff. Now, Shelby, I just want to give you a quick overview of what the listing process looks like, right? We're on step 1 today. This is the agent consultation interview. Should you decide to list with us, we'll sign the listing agreement. Then we'll go through all the disclosures. We'll create that schedule we talked about, the room by room checklist. You'll get the house ready to show. We'll coordinate any staging. And then our marketing begins. That's where we really earn our money. We'll schedule the photographer. We'll do the drone photos, the video, the professional video with drone footage. We'll do the floor plans. We'll create that single property website. We'll order the for sale sign in the yard. We'll install the lockbox, and now we're going to get ready to roll. I'll create the MLS listing. All those postcards will go out. The coming soon listing will go live. My phone's going to blow up because everyone's going to start asking me all kinds of questions. I'm going to start getting on the phone and promoting your listing to other people. Then your listing's going to go live. Again, my phone's going to blow up because there's going to be so much interest. Showings are going to start. I'm going to answer all the questions from incoming agents. That your just listed campaign is going to go out on social media, all the Facebook and Instagram advertising. I do provide daily feedback to you. So whatever feedback I get from other agents, I'm going to share with you each evening, just so you know what's going on in the feedback that people are getting on your property. We talked about conducting that open house on Saturday. We'll conduct that. And then as the offers come in, we actually pre-qualify all buyers. Now, not just with a letter, but we actually call every single lender because we want to find out just how pre-qualified they are. We want to find out, did they actually submit pay stubs, tax returns, W-2s, or did they just call up a lender and say, hey, I need a letter, right? We want to know that so that when we make recommendations to you, we're doing so with the most amount of information possible. Then we'll sit down, we'll review all the offers that have come in, and we'll select the offer with the best price and terms. We then negotiate on your behalf to try to make those even better, right? One of the cool things about having a multiple offer situation is it gives us leverage to then negotiate for better terms for you. And then at the end of all that, right, we'll get through everything and then we'll close. So at this point, what questions do you have for me, Shelby?
Real quick, this is like a actual Shelby question, not a seller question. So you mentioned pre-qualifying all the buyers. Are you doing that on like all buyers who are showing you? You can't be. You're doing this on all offers.
Offers, yeah.
Okay,
only on offers.
Okay, perfect. I'm all set then. No questions. What's next?
Cool. So now, Shelby, it sounds like we agreed on price, right? We're going to list your house at 525,000. It sounds like we agreed on you want to have it listed by the end of September. And it sounds like we agreed on commission. You want to, right, 3% to the listing agent, 2.5% to the buy side. Is that correct? Cool. Now, is there anything else you would want to hear from me in order to feel comfortable signing that listing agreement today?
I just love that line. One more time, Jason.
Is there anything else that you would need to hear in order to feel comfortable signing that listing agreement with me today so we can get started?
No, where do I sign?
Awesome. Yeah. And then we pull out the listing agreement because we came with it, we sign it, and get ready to roll.
So when you pull out the listing agreement, have you pre-filled it like with their names and like your information and stuff like that? Or what does that look like?
Yeah. So I carry a folder with me that has quasi pre-filled out listing agreements with all my info.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not theirs. But it only takes a second to write in the address, compensation, right? And then we sign it.
Yeah. So it's like at least 50% already filled, if not more. Okay, perfect. And then that is hard copy. So you're doing that hard copy and you get the listing agreement signed. With that, I guess what happens next?
Yeah. So then we'll actually go back through the house, either depending on how long I've been there and what their time frame is. We'll either go back through the house and create that room by room checklist, or we'll schedule that second time for me to come back to do it. And then we'll just recap. Like, so I'll go like, cool. Hey, so it's probably going to take me about another 30 to 45 minutes to do that room by room checklist. Do you want me to get that done today so you guys can get started on it? Or would it be better if I come back in a day or two? And I usually let them tell me. Or if I have another appointment scheduled, like I'll just default to, hey guys, let's schedule a time for me to come back another day or two. So each situation is a little different.
Okay. So leverage in place. You mentioned having a listing coordinator / virtual assistant for inputting that data into the MLS. You also have leverage in place for the mailers and I'm guessing which I should just ask you. So what all does your leverage do? You also mentioned ordering the for sale sign. And I know that was something when you told me that originally, I was like, what do you mean? So can you handle those things?
Yeah, I don't do any of those things, right? Like, so I use Asana and I have templates for buyers and sellers in Asana, and it's literally all the tasks. So my virtual assistant's been working with me for like 2.5 years now. So it's actually so it used to be where I would set it up. She actually sets it up and assigns herself all her own tasks now. So, like I'll just send her the listing agreement and she'll set it up in Asana and she'll start going through her tasks. And I'll usually the following morning, when we have our morning meeting, I'll check in and make sure everything's assigned with the correct dates. But
okay, perfect. And so she's the one of her tasks is to order the sign, which I don't know if they have this in all markets. They definitely did not in North Carolina. I'm going to look into it for here in Kentucky. But Jason, if it sounds like you literally place the order, there's a company that holds your sign. And when you place the order and the date, and then they're the ones who go out and install it. So you don't even have to run around and put that sign in the yard.
Correct.
Love it. And that's how much?
It's like $40 or $45 per listing.
Okay. Yeah.
For pickup and drop off, right? So $90 total.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then it's another $15 for them to put the under contract rider on there after it goes under contract.
Yeah. Depending on how close you are to the listing, that can totally, literally anything to leverage and streamline and save time is just really, really important, especially if they're doing as much as you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What did we not talk about today in regard to this listing presentation or anything related that you think is important?
Being prepared. Like I may have made it seem like I'm not, but I probably spend an hour and a half before each listing preparing, like looking at the data, because I know I'm going to get questioned on it. And if people are like, oh, but what about this house? And what about this house? If I can say, oh yeah, I know I saw that house and this, and this, it just makes me a lot more believable than if I'm there and I'm like, what house, right? And I want to come off as believable and as the expert, because the more I can come off that way, the more they're going to trust me.
Yeah, you're really good at being prepared. And then also you're really good at, like, listeners, I don't know if you can tell, but a lot of time and effort has gone into thinking through exactly what to say in each scenario. Like, he's a machine when it comes to what to say in each scenario. And that's because he's thought about it all ahead of time and rehearsed it, and then taken any information that he wants to tell and turned it into a question. So everything, instead of like, this is what you should do, it's always sharing information, sharing third person stories, and then ultimately asking questions to lead the client in the direction that he knows is in their best interest. So if you have not realized that that is all like that's a scientific thing we just listened to, guys, that's like a friggin', I don't know, robot shit in real life.
Right. And you listen to a lot of experts and they say selling is not telling. So I want to ask them the questions so that they come to their own decision, because they're going to believe their own decision a lot more than me telling them what they should do.
For sure. Okay, Jason, there's so many people who are looking at this. Maybe they want a copy of your presentation, which I don't know. Are you, well, regardless, like, you should.
Yeah, the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Totally put you on the spot.
I haven't done it yet, but yes, I will have my assistant upload it, because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, no, tech tart for sure. Tech tart.
Yes.
Okay, but regardless, I know you're just going to share your slides. You also have checklists for every step of the way. You have email templates. You have your entire process really dialed in. So if people want to talk to you about, what you do in more depth, or maybe they just want to follow you and your journey, where can they find more of you? Where's the best place for them to find you and reach out?
Yeah, Instagram, jasonboice.realtor is probably the best way to find me. Send me a message, or if you have someone who's interested in buying and selling in Connecticut, send all the referrals. We'd love to help people out.
That is the key takeaway, actually. Send all referrals. And Connecticut is tiny. So are you offering the whole state, or like, where specific would you like to offer?
Yeah, I have covered the whole state. Especially listings. I'll cover the whole state for listings. Buyers is kind of tough. I prefer to operate within like a 30-mile radius of Hebron, but believe it or not, that ends up being like 2/3 of the state. So that's why I said I have covered the whole state.
Okay, perfect. I love it. I've heard this whole thing before and I still love it. It's great. You're great. Okay, awesome. That was great, Jason. Thank you so much. And if you want to hang out with Jason, go find him on Instagram. If you want to hang out with me and the owner of the show, we are The Shelby Show, and Aaron Amucci Stiggy on the gram. We love to hear from you. As always, Jason, it was lovely hanging with you. And for those of you guys who are going to Tom Ferry, Jason will be, we're staying in the same Airbnb. Jason and I will be at Tom Ferry doing CrossFit in the morning. So if you want to come and drop in, do CrossFit, hang out with us at Tom Ferry, hit up either of us. We'd love to see you there. And that's all we have. Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.